Hello beautiful peeps, this is Chris from TechSpert and I'm here with Sony's new Xperia L3 here on my right and last year's Xperia L2 smartphone, just to do a quick side-by-side so you can sort of see how the smartphone series has evolved and what you get with the new one. So as you can see, the design has definitely improved quite a lot over last year's effort. It was a very boxy affair before, quite a thick, girthy number as well, not very comfortable to clutch. Whereas now with the Xperia L3 you get a much nicer, narrower, rounder finish. Definitely fits the palm a lot neater and feels really good. Flip around to the arse end and the good times continue. Definitely prefer the look and feel of the Xperia L3 compared with last year's L2 on that front as well. You can pick it up in a couple of spangly colours, including this gold model, and if I just reach around here you can get it in silver as well, and of course black. These new colours look really nice. It's got a nice sort of shiny finish to this polycarbonate backing as well, compared with more bog standard straightforward effort on last year's L2. Neither phone is dust or water resistant or anything, of course, as you'd expect, although the new Xperia L3 does boast a Gorilla Glass 5 front panel, so hopefully that should keep it nice and scuff-free. That said, the L2 is still absolutely fine. As you can see, even though it's a year old, no scratches, no scuffs or anything like that. It's been tossed around in my bag a few times and it still seems pretty hardy. Of course, while last year's model had a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, which was Sony's preferred effort for the last couple of generations, we now have a wondrous return to the edge-mounted fingerprint sensor here on the Xperia L3. It just nicely fits onto your thumb if you're holding it on the right hand, or your finger if you're holding it in the left, and it's nice and nippy as well. Just a quick tap and you are into your desktops. It does actually have a separate power button as well. It's not directly linked to the power unlike the previous Xperias with the edge-mounted fingerprint sensor. As for the display tech, that's also improved. There's now a bigger screen. It's a 5.7-inch screen compared with the old 5.5-inch here on the Xperia L2. The Xperia L3 enjoys a nice 18:9 stretched aspect ratio, well suited to a bit of Netflix on the go, and it just seems a little bit more punchy, a little brighter, a little bit more colourful compared with the old slightly drab display here on the Xperia L2. The display settings haven't changed up much though. As you can see there, you've still got the likes of the adaptive brightness. You can play around with the white balance as well if you like, and that's pretty much it. Very straightforward. As for the software, it's a good bit of Android Oreo here on the Xperia L3 at the moment, although being promised it should ship with Android Pie, or at the very least it should be coming very shortly indeed. It's Android Oreo still here on the Xperia L2. But of course Sony's added its various own apps and experiences. The UI is very similar in both cases, slightly more up to date here on the Xperia L3, so the settings menu is a bit cleaner, and then the less used stuff is buried away in an advanced section. Neither phone supports the likes of Sony's Remote Play, of course, because these are budget handsets. The performance definitely seems to have got an upgrade here on the Xperia L3 as well. The L2 is sort of okay, it's not too stuttery, but you will see the occasional little stammer as you're sort of flicking about. Apps don't load up immediately as soon as you tap them. They're definitely faster here on the Xperia L3. Definitely seems a bit sleeker, and you'll notice especially when you're sort of flipping around in the UI, when you're loading up menus, things like that, it just seems really nice and smooth, whereas you definitely do see the odd stutter here on the L2. It is a MediaTek chipset in both though. It's a MediaTek MT6737T here on the L2, and it's the new Helio P22 here on the L3, and that's backed by 3 gigs of RAM, the same as what you got on last year's L2. As for the storage, it's 32 gigs as standard on both smartphones. Shame you don't get 64 now on the Xperia L3, but you can expand both via micro SD memory card, up to further 256 gigs here on the L2, and up to a further half a terabyte here on the L3, so plenty of space for all your Netflixes and all the rest of it. No difference when it comes to the battery size though. You get a 3,300 milliamp cell on both of these smartphones, so that should hopefully keep you going all day long now on the Xperia L3. Certainly the L2 lasted us easily a day and a half with everyday use, and of course you get your usual battery saver modes, a bit of stamina mode action, and yes, you do get that Qnovo tech on both the Xperia L2 and the L3 as well to help prevent damage from overcharging over time. So what about the camera tech? Well, as you can see, there's a big difference there. The Xperia L2 rocked Sony's traditional single lens snapper, whereas you now get a dual lens camera here on the fresh new Xperia L3. It's a 13 megapixel primary lens in both cases, although it's an f2.2 here on the L3, whereas it was an f2.0 here on the L2. And you now, of course, get a 2 megapixel depth sensor here on the Xperia L3 as well to help out with those portrait shots. The general camera experience isn't too dissimilar. We do have the fresher camera app here on the new Xperia L3. So as you see, you can just basically point and shoot, nice and easy. Flip to video mode, you can shoot up to full HD resolution video on either of these smartphones. And you get a small selection of bonus modes as well, including a good bit of manual controls if you need them. Of course, you do now have that bokeh mode here on the Xperia L3 as well, so I'll just make use of that depth sensor to just get you nice and crisp and just blur out everything in the background. Now if you flip around to the front facing cameras as well, you get an 8 megapixel selfie snapper on both of these handsets. Certainly do the job nicely. Nice bit of screen flash action on the go. And you do get a portrait selfie mode as well. So you can blur out everything in the backgrounds here on the Xperia L3. And that in a brief nutshell is the Xperia L2 versus the L3. As you can see, quite a lot is upgraded, especially that design, the performance. Now you've now got the likes of the depth sensor in the camera, so lots of updates. The Xperia L3 actually looking really, really solid for an entry-level smartphone, so we'd highly recommend it if your budget is a bit tighter, but you still want some of that sleek Sony design work. So what do you think? Definitely hit us up in the comments down below, poke subscribe, and don't forget to have yourselves a lovely week.